Hello everyone, this is Dr. Nitika Gupta and today we are going to discuss on the topic stroke. Strokes are by far the most common cause of neurological disability in the adult population. They are responsible for about a quarter of all deaths in the developing countries and account for much disability in the elderly. According to WHO, that is the rapidly developing clinical sign of focal and global disturbances of cerebral functions, and these signs are lasting for more than 24 hours. And the most important cause is that of the vascular origin. This definition includes subarachnoid hemorrhage but excludes transient ischemic attack because its symptoms last for less than 24 hours. TIA, that is transient ischemic attack, is also known as mini stroke. It results uh, it results from it results when the cerebral artery is temporarily blocked, decreasing the blood supply to the brain. Now, the risk factors: the people who are suffering from hypertension or diabetes mellitus, cardiac abnormalities, hyperlipidemia, excessive cigarette smoking or alcohol consumption, old age, hereditary, those on hormone replacement therapy, having sedentary lifestyle, etc., they are more susceptible to the stroke. Next, the main pathological causes behind a stroke are: first is thrombotic stroke, in which blood clot blocks the flow of blood in brain. Next is embolic stroke, in which blood clot from elsewhere in the body may get dislodged and flow to the brain and block an artery. And third is the cerebral hemorrhage, in which a blood vessel in brain may rupture, resulting in bleeding in a part of brain. Now, the etiologies are the main causes for the occurrence of stroke. For the sudden stroke attack, they can be vascular, like thrombosis, embolism, hemorrhage; intracranial infections like encephalitis, meningitis; traumatic causes like depressed skull fractures. Now, for the gradual onset of stroke, they can be cerebral edema, subdural hemorrhage, infection. Now, the third point is transient or recurrent stroke can occur because of post-epileptic or disseminated sclerosis. Now, this slide explains the blood supply of brain. Blood arrives at the brain via four major vessels. The left and right carotid artery passes up through the skull base, where they divide into anterior and middle cerebral arteries. These arteries supply the frontal, parietal, and temporal lobes. The other two major vessels, known as the vertebral arteries, run up the neck to posterior fossa through the foramen magnum. They run backwards to supply the occipital lobes. Now, with the involvement of these cerebral arteries, a number of dysfunctions might occur. Now, if the anterior cerebral artery, they may be anterior cerebral artery involvement results in hemiparesis or hemiplegia in the opposite side, lower extremity, and pelvis. There may be sensory deficits on the opposite side involving leg and pelvis. There may be apraxia. Apraxia means the difficulty in planning motor activities. There may be anosmia, which means inability to perceive smell, that is lost. Grasp reflex and sucking reflex on the opposite sides are also lost. Now, if the middle cerebral artery is involved, there can be hemiparesis or hemiplegia of lower half of the opposite side of face, hemiparesis or hemiplegia on opposite side of upper extremity, lower extremity, sensory loss on the opposite side of face, arm, leg. There may be ataxia of the opposite side, Broca's aphasia, Wernicke's aphasia, or global aphasia may also occur. Hemispatial neglect, visual disorders like homonymous heminopia may occur. If the posterior cerebral artery is involved, then contralateral homonymous heminopia, cortical blindness, visual agnosia, dyslexia, memory defect, topographic disorientation, thalamic pain, dysesthesia, involuntary movements like chorea, intention tremors may occur. Now, stroke can not only be defined by the involvement of cerebral arteries, but we need to consider the part of the brains involved also. Now, in this slide, uh, we need to know the functions of all parts of the brain, like motor area controls the voluntary muscles, sensory area controls the skin sensations, frontal lobe is involved in movement, problem solving, concentration, thinking, behavior, personality, mood, and likewise Broca's area, temporal lobe, brainstem, parietal lobe, occipital lobe, Wernicke's area, cerebellum. Every part of the brain has their own functions, and we need to study these parts very thoroughly. So, this slide shows the sign and symptoms which immediately occur following the brain attack. The person uh, might complain of headache, mental changes, aphasia, respiratory problems, decreased tendency to cough. They may be incontinence, seizures, hemiparesis, emotional problems, visual changes. The person might vomit, or he might feel hypertension. So, these early signs and symptoms should not be ignored. One can save a life or prevent excessive loss. Now, this slide shows the synergy patterns. They are the primitive movements that dominate reflex and voluntary efforts when spasticity is present after the attack. They interfere with coordinated voluntary movements such as eating, dressing, walking, etc. There are two types of synergy patterns, flexion synergy patterns and extension synergy patterns in upper extremity and lower extremity. And usually there is a combination of these synergy patterns. Pure synergy patterns are less commonly present, but a combination of them are most probably present. So now this slide shows the typical hemiplegic posture, which is the combination of both type of synergy patterns. Now comes the examination of a stroke patient. Neurological examination is very variable and depends upon the location of involvement. We should look for the skin for limb ischemia, rashes. We should look the eyes for diabetic changes, retinal emboli, hypertensive changes. We should look for the CVS for any hypertension or hypotension or rhythm changes or pulse or pulmonary edema or the chances of infection. We should look at the abdomen for urinary retention. We should study the locomotor system because injuries sustained during collapse with stroke are also important and need to be treated. Now, differential diagnosis for stroke, there are some conditions which may mimic the stroke. It might not be the actual stroke attack, but it can be because of tumor or subdural hematoma, hyperglycemia, hypoglycemia, post cardiac arrest, or drug or narcotic overdose. Now, the investigative procedures are required. CT scan or MRI can be done, lumbar puncture or ECG, EEG can be done, full blood count, cholesterol level, blood glucose level, ESR, or blood clotting can be done. Now, management of an acute episode of stroke. Airways need to be maintained and prevent from aspiration. Breathing should be maintained. Circulation should be adequate. BP should be normalized. Prevent the patient from dehydration. Nutritional supplements should be provided, and he should be fed through the nasogastric tube. Medication should be provided by other routes other than from the oral route. Next is prevention. The patient has to take care of his blood pressure. So, and he should not smoke or drink alcohol so often. They should take care of these things. uh, if if the person has arterial fibrillation, then he needs to take anti-thrombotic medicines. He should control his blood cholesterol level to the normal ranges, and also monitor and control his blood sugar level. Now, for the rehabilitation, is it is important as early as possible. It is uh, it is the duty of physiotherapist, occupational therapist, speech therapist to jointly act and improve the quality of life of stroke patient. Leg braces, toe spring, cane, walking sticks improve mobility. Now, during the early stages, positioning is very important. It is very important that abnormal tone, contractures, pains, and respiratory complications are discouraged. It is important element in maximizing patients' functional gains and improving the quality of life. If the person is lying on the affected side, then pillow positioning should be correct. His head should be supported with one or two pillows, and affected shoulders should be positioned comfortably. If the person is lying on unaffected side, then then the affected arm should be kept forward and supported on pillows. If the person is sitting on the bed, then his back should be upright and he should be well supported with pillows. If the person is lying on back, then three pillows should be arranged in the form of triangle, and shoulders, head, legs should be completely supported. Now, PT treatment aims are to improve motor control, which can be done by quick stretch, brushing, reflex stimulation, etc. Limb physiotherapy involves passive assisted activity, active range of motion exercises. Chest physiotherapy involves cuffing, huffing, forced expiratory techniques, etc. Balance training is very important. Early mobilization should be done, which involves moving the patient in bed and bringing him to sit or standing position as soon as possible. People with stroke should be mobilized as soon as possible within 3 days after the stroke. Tone management is important. Maintain the tone by stretching activities. Prolonged stretching activities should be done. Passive mobilization, weight bearing, ice, contraction of muscles antagonistic to spastic muscles play an important role in management of tone and spasticity. Electrical stimulation also helps in improving the muscle function. Edema should be managed and prevented. Intermittent pneumatic compression, elastic stockings or bandages, massage uh, helps the venous return and decreases edema and also prevents pressure ulcers. Gait re-education should be done on treadmill or on the parallel bars. Functional mobility training includes activities on bed like rolling, bridging, and then if the patient is able to do those activities, transit from supine to sitting position, then from sit to stand position, and then early ambulation should be done as soon as possible. Tips for standing are the patient can hold bed or chair so that he does not fall down. Never pull or lift the patient during using affected arm. And think about foot placement, hand and buttock position, and use of momentum and verbal cues should be done. Next advice is for the family members that they should keep encouraging the patient so that he is able to come back to the normal life and able to do the activities of daily living by himself. Thank you.